is up, Hawk fans? I'm not in my normal studio, as it were, to record this video. You guys have been kind of spoiled with me being able to drop so many timely videos as quickly as I was able to. It was permitted with my work schedule. Now, not so much. But regardless, you're still going to get the same classic Nolan Hawkeye Anthony analysis of all things Iowa Hawkeye sports. And I don't even have my normal Rode mic, but I think it still sounds good. iPhones still have a really nice microphone built in, so I'm gonna roll with that. I've recorded like that before, and it actually doesn't sound too bad. Actually, I can make the case that it sounds a little bit better when driving. It sounds a tad bit better when driving. So I almost wish that I waited to do this video until like tomorrow. Not this one that I'm doing, but the one before that I dropped last night. I wish I had done that video like tonight on top of this video, or tomorrow morning, because today Josh Dix and Pryce Sandfort announced that they will be heading elsewhere. And in that video, because I don't subscribe to the message boards and some of these paid subscriptions. Apparently there were crystal balls that were put in for Pryce Sandfort to Nebraska and things like that. But I said that, of course, those guys were still on the board, primarily Pryce Sandfort. I didn't talk a ton about them, but I did say that in reference to Seidao Traore departing Iowa, which with Pryce Sandfort choosing Nebraska, which, by the way, just let me vehemently say that now, Pryce Sandfort chose Nebraska, Fred Hoiberg and Nebraska, and Josh Dix has chosen to follow Owen Freeman to Creighton, which apparently Josh Dix was actually considering doing last year with his mother having some ailments, illness. And so now with that news, by the way, guys, smash that subscribe button, like, comment. The channel continues to grow. I appreciate all your guys' support, even though I commonly mispronounce names, but I digress. I appreciate it all the same, even when you guys hate on that. I said in that video that I was surprised Seidao Traore hit the transfer portal, and I was not sad to see him go, but I was a little bit bummed because he's a guy with the style that he plays and the intangibles that he has. He can basically pretty much work in every system, pretty much to the same level of capacity. He's a rim runner guy. He's going to be involved in screens. He can dribble the basketball a little bit. He's 6'7". He can rebound well for his size. He's a hustle guy. He defends. He was actually better at shooting than I thought he was going to be, but he still has a lot of improvement left. But he's got 2 years of eligibility remaining. And I actually thought that he would work in Ben McCollum's system quite well. Now, I think as Iowa fans, it's hard for us to delineate exactly what Ben McCollum is looking for as far as personnel and the system that he is looking to implement. Because on one hand, sorry guys, my neck is killing me. On one hand, yes, we do know things like he wants to defend. We know what he said at his press conference. But what his teams looked like at Northwest Missouri State, or I believe that's where it was, Division II, and what his team looked like at Drake, I don't think it is fair or accurate to say or expect that is exactly how his teams are going to look at Iowa. Now, I do think of the two, probably more akin, at least initially, to Drake, because it was a Division I program. But I think at its epitome and what he's looking for, maybe somewhere in between what we saw from his Northwest Missouri State teams and Drake. What we do know is, and I highlighted this when I reacted to Ben McCollum's press conference. Ben McCollum is malleable. He is willing, and that is one of his criteria. One of the things that he strives to do as a head coach is to match the scheme and the style of play with a foundation still in place with the personnel that he has. And it takes a certain coach to be able to thread that needle meticulously. So I say all of that just to say that it's hard for me or you or any Iowa fan to completely speculate what types of players he's looking for in the portal. I do think it's safe to say, because every coach believes this, and what we heard from him in the press conference, he definitely probably wants shooting. That's the modern landscape of college basketball. And he mentioned that he had a team in the past where literally everybody on the court was shooting over 40% from three, I believe he said, or from the field. Anybody could knock down shots. And I think that is, at least long-term, what he's going to be looking for. But regardless of that, I think Seydou Traore obviously can play in the Big Ten. I think it was one of the lone players that was tough for Iowa's basketball team last year. I think it is partially because of where he's from and where he grew up. But I do think that those things could have transferred to Ben McCollum's system. We'll see. I would not hold my breath with Iowa landing him again, because the fact that he decided to hit the transfer portal after Ben McCollum got there, and actually a decent amount of time had elapsed from the time Ben McCollum had gotten there. It wasn't like it was the next day or, the morning of, or even 2 days later. I mean, it was like a full week and a half, 2 weeks from Ben McCollum being there that Seydou Traore departed. It's not the end of the world, okay? He's not the most talented guy in the world. But if I look at even the guys that he has landed from Drake, I would put Seydou Traore right up there with all of them, minus he's probably maybe a step. He's probably exactly where Cam Menyawu is. And to tell you the truth, he's probably a very similar player to Cam Menyawu. Maybe that's why he left. Maybe that's why Ben McCollum I don't know for sure, had a conversation with him. And, you could see the writing on the wall. And of the two, Ben McCollum would rather have one of his guys that he coached at Drake rather than having a different player from the old regime. But as far as talent goes, I think he definitely is right where all the guys are at, minus Bennett, Sturtz. And I would even say Cooper, he's probably at this point maybe slightly ahead of Cooper Koch. Now, Cooper Koch, it's kind of hard to say because he was out for much of the year with an undisclosed injury. And, Cooper Koch does really have a high skill set, but maybe lacks and has good size, but maybe lacks some of the athletic ability overall. So now, just to the main thing that I wanted to discuss is going to have to wait and see kind of what his roster looks like. There's he's definitely got a nice, strong foundation. Also factoring in Tavion Banks, Seydou Traore probably would have been on the short list. with regards, there probably would have been some guys ahead of him. Cam, Tavon, oh my gosh. No, it's not Tavion Banks. He probably could have competed, but I do think that those guys would have been ahead of him at least initially. So at the end of the day, the new coach probably feels more comfortable and confident getting his guys that he selected to get, with maybe a few exceptions as far as holdovers go. But it's absolutely insane when you really think about it, that pretty much and this is just the modern state of things when it comes to college basketball, pretty much Fran McCaffery's whole roster is gone. It's all gone. The only guy that's still going to be there is Cooper Koch. Obviously, he's got the familial connection with his dad, JR. Carter Kingsbury, if you want to count him. That's it. I think that is literally it. Now, just to wrap this up, and I'm going to do another video in the future, probably sometime this weekend. I had to clean the screen there. I'm okay with it as long as Ben McCollum gets his guys. I do just want to comment on Pryce Sandfort and Josh Dix, especially Pryce Sandfort. Guys, this is why I always say you should not be a fan. If you are a fan of Iowa, you should never be a fan of the players over the university. Yes, if you want to support the university by donating money and stuff like that to get some of the top players money, I understand that. It's a necessity. But gone are the days of this like old school pride in the university, in the home state, being loyal to your home state, all that stuff. And yes, I know he did play for Iowa for a few years, but a lot of that, number one, Fran McCaffery had to recruit him hard to get him to come to Iowa, Pryce Sandfort. Number two, Iowa probably won that recruitment because of his brother, Peyton Sandfort. If Peyton Sandfort's not at Iowa, I'm not sure Iowa wins that battle. And I do like how he developed this past year. He was one of the lone bright spots for Iowa. But it just goes to show that it's gone. It is gone. This old school pride in where you come from and the university that you were at. And even if the coach left, you have such immense pride in the university that you go to, that you are going to, as Ben McCollum was saying, how cool would it have been that they're able, especially if they're from the state of Iowa, to and I love this selling point from him. I think it might be a little outdated, but I still think it was accurate, and I think that it did probably tug on the heartstrings of Josh Dix and Pryce Sandfort a little bit. But in the end, they're Zoomers, and it's not as big of a deal for them. But how cool would it have been for them to rejuvenate the program and help transition a program from one coach to the next and leave it truly in a better place than when they got there. But that what's done is done. We'll see what happens with Pryce Sandfort in Nebraska. I think Fred Hoiberg's on the hot seat. But I don't even know if I want Iowa to consider getting him again after he spurned Iowa. It just really goes to show, guys. It does. And I can't even fault it too much because, these guys only have a certain period of time in which they're able to make this sort of money. But it's just yet another in the millions of reminders that the way college sports used to be is now gone. It is devoid of that. It is empty of that. It is gone. College sports is now a full-fledged business in which players are completely bought and sold and paid for. And you know what? If the players want it to be that way, I mean, what are we supposed to do about it? I mean, in the end, if that's how they want to be treated, then that's what it's going to be, And like I said, on a certain level, I understand it. I've done videos in the past saying that I was in favor of NIL, but I did also list some of the drawbacks and things like that. But it's just like, you know, I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, dude, not only did you leave your school, but you chose a rival. You chose Nebraska in the Big Ten, dude. At least Owen Freeman goes to Creighton. At least Josh Dix goes to Creighton. You go to Nebraska, a rival school. Shake my head. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will definitely have more on this in the coming days. Be sure to hit that like, comment, share, and, of course, the subscribe button. And last but not least, DBAP, don't be a pussy willow. In facts or feelings, because your feelings just matter. Love you, Hawk fans. See you guys next time. Bye-bye. Go Hawks.